Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so before I get started, as I always like to do, I want to do a wonderful job of sending you guys great energy. First of all, thank you for tuning into BDF 44's channel. Um, so I guess this will be an NBA video therapy session. I have no idea what this is gonna be. I don't really know, but Brooklyn Nets owner Joe Tsai has come out and made a statement expressing his concerns about his player Kyrie Irving having uh, in some way promoted a movie of some sort or a group of some sort called Hebrews to Negroes. I just found it on YouTube. I haven't checked out any of the content, so I'm not really sure the context of what was going on. But from what I understand, they are deemed anti-Semitic. Now, if you follow me on this channel, we've had a lot of uncomfortable conversations about this. I've put myself on the line in regards to my opinion, knowing that I'm ignorant, but also very curious to know why certain conversations are taboo. And I don't equate hate to curiosity in regards to these conversations. But I do think I'm being labeled, or not myself, but those who have this conversation may be considered labeled anti-Semitic, and I don't really understand why. And this kind of has the vibe of the Colin Kaepernick "don't kneel" type of thing before we came to realize that Kaepernick didn't mean any harm. This is kind of what this feels like. Now, Kanye West is not doing us any favors by going about it the way that he is, because he's on his own type of time, and I don't really understand my brother Kanye, but I do appreciate that he's been a hub for which this conversation can be focused on. Now people who can take it from there and do it their own way, and try to pour some love into it in a different way. So I think that's what it is on my channel. So Kyrie Irving is trying to bring some light to the same conversation. I think a lot of people in our community are trying to bring light to this conversation. We don't necessarily understand why this conversation is such a bad one. I think especially when it's a lot of confusion more so than declarations. I think that's being put out there, and I think it's more so suppression of voice that makes you even more so curious about the conversation. So I think Kyrie Irving is bringing a light to that. I understand that he's called himself a disruptor in the past. So a lot of times a disruptor is going to come out and see what somebody's doing and kind of attach themselves to it and push forth. But one thing I also understand about Kyrie Irving is that he's always, since I've been following him as of late, been about putting forth a message to help African Americans understand their identity and help Native Americans understand what is his point of view on their history is, and his connection to his people in that way is a deep one to him. I don't equate that to hate. I don't equate that to hate. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when a person's trying to uplift their people, and the conversations surrounding their people are conversations that may not necessarily have understanding attached to it, it can be deemed hateful. But I don't believe we're a hateful people, and I think that that's a misrepresentation of what our intentions is, and a misrepresentation of the olive branch that has already been placed between us in a lot of situations. Just like, I ain't a bad guy. Can I have this conversation that might not necessarily rub you the right way, and it not be the worst thing in the world? So I think that's where I stand in regards to that, and I can't speak for nobody else, but that's where I stand in regards to the conversation. And Josiah's response is I guess something that I can't fully attach myself an opinion to, because I really don't know what Kyrie is promoting, right? To be informed and to be responsible, I would have to know what it is that they're promoting within what it is that they're doing. But the conversation that's the bigger conversation surrounding what that is, I think, is what ultimately he's shining the light on. Not necessarily the details of what all they would co-sign and not co-sign. You know what I mean? And I'm using this tea leaf, so to speak, judging by how that last situation went down with the controversial person that he posted something from, and it turned out that that individual had a lot of bad attached to their name. You know what I mean? So he got a lot of backlash for that. So, shooting from the hip, as we always say, it can tend to get you the type of energy that is unwanted a lot of the time. But when you try to inform people of things that will otherwise liberate their minds, sometimes you will often get that information in underground places, I guess, or subgenre places, or maybe places that may not necessarily have everything that comes out of those places be deemed appropriate necessarily for what it is that we agree upon. And where does that begin? Where does that end? Where does it become dangerous? I don't have the wisdom for that. So I can only look at Josiah and say, the public opinion of what it is you're doing is that you don't necessarily understand what it is that maybe Kyrie's trying to do, but it seems as if you're quick to label it based on what others may have said about other situations and conversations that may have been hateful in nature, but don't necessarily have to be what this is about. And so that's the best I can say for that in regards to what I'm seeing there. I just think a lot of times people are quick to blanket label certain topics. If something is questioning Jewish people, it's anti-Semitic. And I just think that we need to get to a point where we broaden the scale a bit for what that means and start to educate ourselves on what it is that people's intentions are, as well as what it means to be disrespectful to Jewish people. And once we start to broaden our understanding of what those conversations are about, then we can stop being offended by what's offensive. Then we can stop being offended about what is asked of us not to be saying, or what is asked of us to not utter. You know what I mean? We ask people not say certain words. We got a word that we would love Jewish people never to say. And if there's an explanation needed, some people will want to explain, others will not want to explain at all. So I respect that. But at the same time, if we're going to have national conversations, we need to have responsible national conversations. And going back and forth, I'm seeing a lot of clout chasers hopping on to the conversation with intentions that are not mature, and they need to be ignored. You know what I mean? They need to be ignored. That's just the reality of. There will always be distractions. There will always be people who come in and try to pervert the nature of what it is the conversation is. But if the people who are on both sides remain focused, you can come to a conclusion without the devil in the room. And that is exactly what it is that I'm trying to bring to the table. I think that there are going to be a lot of people who will want to silence people who would try to make some sense of conversations like these. But these are conversations that our children need to have had in this era before they are born. And I really believe that we got to settle things, man. We've allowed people who didn't have our best interests at heart to keep us separated and keep us from having conversations that ultimately would help us evolve as people and help us coexist better. We need to recognize that, disarm them, and then have those conversations. That needs to happen. We need to do what our ancestors refused to do and were afraid to do. Simple as that. And so that's where I'm at. I'm willing to apologize for anything that I say that may offend, but that will not disarm me from using my mouth to speak. That will not disarm me from then redirecting back to the focus from which the point is supposed to be. And I think that's what a lot of people want to derail you from. You're supposed to be apologetic for bringing up the conversation when I haven't said yet what it is that I'm even here to do. You get labeled before you realize that I'm not here to hate at all. And maybe some of my predecessors weren't able to articulate that properly. I am. And so it's not about hate in any way, shape, or form. And it's about discovering what hate is so that you don't engage in it. How about that angle? I want to know what that actually is so I'm not engaging in it. And if I'm being shunned and told I'm that before I know what that actually is, before I truly gain that enlightenment, then how can I actually ever heal from what otherwise would be that illness? that evil. See, these are spiritual conversations. This is not surface conversations. These are spiritual people. You understand what I'm saying? I'm sure you do. And so this is one of those conversations that I just think a lot of folly is taking place around it. A lot of greed, corporate nonsense. And you can just see the evil in the details of it. But I think there are common folks who want to get along, who love each other's cultures, who think they can help one another. And they're going to want to be able to move forward together. People who are related to one another. People have to explain certain conversations to their kids. Kids who will not understand why certain things are where they are, but will have to live with those realities as biracial individuals. Like, this is real. This is very real. When I speak of this, I don't speak lightly. I understand these type of things are beyond my circumference of understanding, and even when I speak of it. So it's like, I want that understanding, and I want to be responsible in obtaining the information that these conversations are supposed to provide. If I'm truly a person of the tribe of Judah, I don't think that's something I should not be able to have a conversation about. If I find that I'm not that person, I don't have a problem walking away saying I found what I need to find and I'm good. You know what I'm saying? That me wanting to have that conversation should not be something that's the worst thing in the world. And I get it. My sister, my very own sister, came to me and said, yo, the information you're looking for ain't hard to find. You can read the book. Go read. You got the books there, the doctrines out there. But I don't find that I trust much that I read. I trust conversations. I trust people who, can look me in the eye, have real conversations with me. You know what I mean? I know vibes. And then occasionally, of course, when you read certain things, obviously you could tie other things together and find some commonalities, and eventually you'll come to what you consider to be a truth. But I don't know that what we would read would otherwise tell me what I need to know. I don't know that we would have access to things that would otherwise be hidden to that degree, is what I'm saying. That type of thing would, by all intent and purposes, be hidden. Which is why it's not common knowledge, which is why I would think such a conversation would be suppressed every time it's even hinted at. By people who are not even having any skin in the game. If you know what I mean. Josiah, my friend, what do you have to do with that conversation? This is about black people and Jewish people. What are you doing? What you don't know? Hate. My friend, you have more to learn about what it is we're even discussing to determine whether or not it's hateful. What you're doing is covering your backside with corporate stuff that has been put in place to assure that you're not liable for being considered hateful. What I'm saying is the people who are telling you that is considered hateful, they're not defining hate properly. They're not actually filtering that with what makes sense, with what it is that actually is being presented to them. They're blanketing that for every situation so that they don't have to do too much thinking when they run into situations such as these. That's what you're engaging in. It's the American version of sweeping something under the rug. That's what we do. Keeps business flowing. But when it comes to businesses of spirituality and moral stuff and stuff like this that affects our families, this is not a conversation that we want you to even be involved in, sir. And I say that with a love and and so much respect. But that's something we want you to sit back and learn about, and then use your voice to help, not just give us the blanketed, hey, yo, he's a hater, and it's just not responsible for him to be speaking like that. You don't know what he's speaking about. What you may find out is there's some things within that conversation that may even prompt you to want to ask some questions. That's how deep this runs. Maybe you and your people will want to know what the hell's going on with that, if you dig deep enough. All I'm saying is that conversation is not a hateful one. It's one of confusion and not and not really understanding what exactly is there to know, because it's been hidden from us. But we know there's something to it, and it's looks like time for the conversation. Basically, I don't imagine that this is gonna go away. I don't imagine that from here, suppression and censorship is gonna be seen the same way. You saw what Elon did this morning. It's a new day. I'm not saying it's okay to go around calling people anything and everything, but some of these conversations, cancel culture is not wanting to have, and some of the different things that people were saying, nah, we can't, or some of the agreements that we've been saying that we're going along with, I do believe that the clock just struck 12 on that. I think we just entered a new era, and I think everybody's going to have to catch up very fast. If you look around, public perception of this Kanye character that they've been trying to smear, it ain't going the way they thought it would. The conversation's more so, look at how ridiculous they're behaving. Because there's a good portion of people who understand that Kanye West is not actually married to anything that he's doing, only to what it can provide in display as people react to it. That's it. You put on a clown nose, put on clown makeup so you can get kids to laugh. You see, that's all he's doing. He's putting on for you so you act a certain way to show us certain things. I've been trying to get whoever that watches me to understand that as I gain understanding. He's not married to any of this. He's just saying, see, this is what happens when they do this. See, this is what happens when they do this. That's all he's been doing for the last month or so. And so that's why I'm saying, like, are you sure Kanye's anti-Semitic? Or are you not understanding that man is just trying to prove a point? You know, so these are the type of things that I'm just saying, like, African American people want to have conversations that if they've been told they can't have. That's just it. Kyrie Irving is saying that. Myself, I'm saying that. Kanye West is saying that. Many others. Many people. We just want to have conversations. However we go about that with our energy and our history in life and the way we were raised, I don't know. We're all different. But at the end of the day, collectively, you can clearly see we're waking up. We want to know certain things that we've been told that we shouldn't learn, shouldn't know. And we want to have conversations about those things with people who say they don't want to talk to us. Like, literally. That's what you're seeing. That's exactly what you're seeing. And we want to teach our people things, and we want to come up out of these hard times and difficult agreements that we have that leave us in squalor and lead us to early graves. You know what I mean? We want to evolve. You know, we want to understand, truly understand. We've been put in a land of confusion for a long time. We've been in a pinball machine in a way, as a people in this country. Banging up against this, that, and the third, not quite ever being able to keep our balance. It's always some manipulation or some pushback or some fight in order for us to gain some more wiggle room to move, or something else that we have to do to climb this or that. It's never just a space for us to just sit still. It's always either something coming after us, or something telling us we need to not be this way, or something telling us we need to cops do something is always affecting our reality, and whether it's our fault or not. A lot of people say, you got to hold yourself accountable, this, that. Okay, good, okay. But this is the experience. This is what I'm saying to you. People been frustrated for a long time. Some people are getting a lot of money now. They're gaining confidence, they're gaining wealth, and they're getting a taste of what it is. They're seeing what's behind the curtain to a degree, at least one layer or two. I mean, that's what you're looking at, man. I think because we were labeled 3/5 of a human being, and people ran around actually believing we were stupid, and like ran around and actually believed we were slow and couldn't learn and weren't geniuses and all these different things, or that we could be managed, or had this docile part of our brain that just makes it so that we accept bullshit forever. Whatever those things are, I think they actually thought that was real. I think they actually thought we would stay like that, or that we actually were like that. That wasn't real. Compassionate people, that's real. We don't want to actually do any of that stuff. We're not the monsters that they say we are. If we were, this place would have been torn up a long time ago. It's just not who we are. That's why nothing's destroyed. We put up like we want to kill this. We quicker to kill each other than to kill our real enemies, because that's not who we don't want that. We don't want to do none of that. We've been coerced into killing each other. We've been promoted and taught how to do that by each other, by all different types of different things that have been pushed toward us. Like I said, some of it our fault, maybe most, I don't know. I got more to learn, but what I see is it's too much, and it's been too much for a long time. And so if there's a way people can learn their way out of it, or think their way out of it, or earn their way out of it, I think that's basically what they're willing to do. This pinball machine is ridiculous. From 1 year our lives matter, the next year we can't say they matter, but if we do say they matter, half the people don't love us. We kneel saying we don't want to be killed in the streets by the police officers. You telling us the police officers matters more than us. I mean, and then you look at the Kanye West dude, he putting us in a pinball machine too. One day he say he loves us, the next day he hate us, put on the red hat, put on the white lives matter. Black people don't know what the hell is going on, man. They don't know what's going on. They confused, they tired, they're frustrated. And if they come off disrespectful, it's because they've been quiet and docile, I guess, in that way. And they're tired of that. They're tired of being quiet about these things. When we look up and see that we're being exploited and used, made fun of, discarded of, you know, all kind of different weird stuff that happens when you are us. When you're us, you know what I mean? So it's like, people don't have a whole lot of heart for that. I get it. The skin, whatever. I don't know how that works for people, but on this side of it, those misconceptions about what they think we are, or how we're supposed to behave, or what we're supposed to agree to, or to adhere to, all these different things, the more we learn, the more we awaken and understanding that is not what we are supposed to adhere to at all. That's not who we were. And just because we were brought from somewhere and plopped here for a long time does not mean that we should be behaving as if we're not other. We're not that. We never were that. That's what we were taught to be. That's what we were trained to be. That's what we were beaten into submission to become. But that is not who we are. Never was. So if you're not pleased with our outspoken nature, do understand that our kids will be even more outspoken. You think the Malcolm X's and the Martin Luther Kings ain't keep coming? They're going to keep coming. As long as there's something to fight for, there will be more people like us in that way who will step up, speak out, and not care about the consequences that happen to us. Because we're here to do something that we know is going to reverberate across space and time. And it's not just even about our own people. It's about teaching all of mankind how not to make the same mistakes of the people that came before them. And certainly not to fall into docile behaviors that allow your people to ultimately be in the space that we found ourselves in, demanding respect and getting very little in return, but being exploited for all that we're able to do by the same people telling us that we have nothing that we have a right to say about them. I'm sorry, it's not cool. It's not cool. So if a few black people come off being a little disrespectful, or we swing and come out saying the wrong thing, you gotta understand, that's because it's a big, huge wall of us behind them that are actually afraid. Look at all the black people that are canceling each other for this. I want to ask everybody who's not black out there, do you really think the black people, most of the black people who are canceling Kanye, really want to do that? The conversation that he's bringing up benefits them and their children. Do you not know that? Do you not know that? While we're sitting up here labeling him this or that, or where his mind is taking him, making him look worse than he actually should be, do you know that the conversation that we're having about this particular thing is something that can help heal. I don't even think he understands that. It's just like, man, I just don't want anyone to misunderstand where I'm coming from. There's love here. You know what I mean? Once you break down all the hurt, once you break past all the pain, it's just somebody who wants to share. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking about myself specifically. I'm talking about the black people that I'm aware of. All of the people that I represent when I speak this way. We're not about some of the stuff that has been promoted. That's not inside of us. That's not the real black people. Some of those agreements that have been learned from behaviors that we should have done away with, some of those have been promoted to us, as I've said already in this video. Some of that stuff is just people not being good people. Got some evil people, you know what I mean? Like literally, horrible humans. But that's not the collective. That's not real, man. It's really not. I promise you, if it were, this place would be a lot worse of a place to be in. A lot worse. You think Chicago and these little places, these little pockets of places where real horrible things are happening, if black people truly were as evil as we've been promoted to be, you would not escape that anywhere. There would be nowhere for you to retreat, to your homes. You wouldn't be able to escape that. If we were all like that, like they've been promoting us as animals, and just like we ain't got no sense, like we got no koof, like there's nothing that governs our spirits. If we were really like that, none of y'all be safe nowhere. Nobody would be. It would be war all the time, man. That's just not who we are, bro. So when you call Kyrie a hater, who's he hating? Who's he hating? Last I checked, I saw him coming to the defense of his teammate, Ben Simmons. Last I checked, he was sending love and support to the indigenous people and the tribes that he loves. He's telling us how to feed ourselves, how to heal ourselves through some of the posts that I've heard of. Black people, how to liberate themselves and get themselves out of certain mental bondages in certain agreements that don't serve us. Is it because it benefits us that it's hateful? Help me understand why it's hateful. To empower people that have been in this space, however you view it. In this space, do we not need some empowering from within? I don't know, man. I just, maybe it's too much about us. Maybe I'm doing too much myself. But at the end of the day, if the subject is going to be black, shouldn't it not just be the vilification and the misrepresentation of black going forward? I know what it was yesterday, but like today though, do it still have to be that? BDF 44. I thank y'all for watching.